So one thing a lot of people worry about on the Appalachian Trail is, am I going to be all alone? Am I going to be hiking a 2,000-mile trail all by myself? And, their parents or their families worry about them. Look, I want to address that today. You're probably never going to be all alone on the Appalachian Trail. So, so I hiked probably the busiest 215 miles of the trail, the first southernmost 215 miles, and I can tell you that there are actually quite a few people the whole way. Yeah, you can go for an hour without seeing anybody on the trail, and then you'll cross several people. But throughout the day, yeah, you encounter people throughout the day, several times throughout the day, every day. And then basically at the end of the day, you're usually shooting for these shelters. And the reason you shoot for those shelters at the end of the day is because they have a privy. So if you need to use the toilet, they have a privy that kind of makes it convenient. You don't have to dig holes. Almost every one of the shelters has a water source right next to it. So you got the privy and the water source, and then I like to sleep in the shelter so I don't have to set up and tear down my tent. So for me, that's more convenient. A lot of people just like to camp. They set up their tent near the shelter. So there's always a big tent area near the shelter. But for me, I like to sleep there. So another benefit of the shelters, though, is they have bear cables. So you can hoist your food up on these cables that are already stretched high up in the trees, and there's a hook on the cable, and you just attach your food bag to the hook and hoist it up there. So it's very easy. You don't have to go and hunt for a tree to hoist your food up onto. The bear cables are a really great convenience for securing your food at night. And another advantage is the picnic table. So even if you don't sleep in the shelter, you have a picnic table at every shelter, which is great for cooking and eating at. It's a great surface to sit at and eat at. So those are the main benefits. But what I like best about the shelters is the community. Because at the end of the day, you're meeting up with friends you saw at the last shelter or 2 shelters ago, or maybe people you met on the trail earlier that day. And basically at the end of the day, everybody stops at the shelter and gets together for dinner and sleep. And so there's just a great sense of community. You make friends almost instantly because you're all really in the same situation, and you're all hiking the AT together, so you all have this big common thread of through hiking. And so it's really easy to make friends. You get to know people, you find out their name or their trail name and where they're from, and how far they're going. Most of the people are just through hiking the whole trail. But it's easy to start a conversation just around those things. And so it's pretty easy to strike up friendships along the trail and get to know people. And sometimes you hike with people. If you're hiking with people, you can chat with them too while you're hiking. But most definitely, there's a lot of community at the end of the day. Once in a while, there'll be a campfire. Somebody will start a fire, which is cool. You can sit around the campfire and talk. But other times, just sit around a picnic table or sit around the shelter and talk with people and get to know them. So it's kind of fun. So there's definitely a strong community among through hikers, and it kind of like these shelters is a big center of that. So at the end of every day, you're targeting these shelters. And if you're a loner, you don't have to camp in the shelters. You don't really have to. You can camp alone somewhere else out in the woods if you want to. But most people prefer to camp in the shelters, also for the reasons that I just mentioned, but also because of the hiking community, and you get to make friendships and stuff. And for me, that was the most special part about the Appalachian Trail hike is the friendships and the bonding with other people and getting to know a lot of people. And so easily and quickly you get to know a lot of other people and make friends. So that's what I really liked about the Appalachian Trail.